Oh, my name is Frank Gonzalez, Frank Pancho B. Gonzalez on Facebook. I'm the Lipan Apache Band of Texas. That's where we come from. I was born in, you wouldn't believe this, I was born in Port Huron, Michigan. Our people were nomads, so we went all over the place. At that time, I ended up being born almost in Sarnia, Ontario. I was almost born a Canadian. Anyway, I was born in Port Huron, Michigan in 1946. And this is our people right here. We're from Brownsville, Texas, through the Rio Grande Valley, all the way up to Del Rio, Brackettville, San Antonio, and that area right there, which is they consider the Rio Grande Valley. Both sides of the river, Mexico and the United States. And we have this story right here is our people here. There's signs out there that in Texas that depict what happened in that area. This is my brother Richard Gonzalez, made some plaques to counter this of, I don't know if you all remember Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Well, he did that. So he put our Native American on some of these, and they were approved by the state of Texas to be able to put that on there. 1873, the President of the United States ended up putting out a decree that get rid of all the Native Americans. Lieutenant McKenzie was given the orders, and they were given the orders to be able to go into Mexico and chase the Native Americans. Before, the Native Americans used to be able to go into Mexico, get away from the cavalry of the United States, and then go into the United States and get away from the federales of Mexico, because they were chasing them too. And so McKenzie went across the border at a place, if you triangulate it, at Del Rio and Eagle Pass, Texas, down to a place in Mexico called Remolino. And what happened there is that they came over and crossed into Mexico, and our people, fortunately, the warriors were out hunting, so the warriors weren't there in camp. And the Lieutenant McKenzie came in there and killed, in the early morning, ended up killing everybody, men, women, and children. They only took 23 prisoners, and they took them over to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And my this is my grandma, her great-great-grandma was instructed to dig a hole in the ground deep enough where she could sit down and get a tumbleweed, tie a rope around it with a rock on it so the wind wouldn't blow it away. And whenever something happened, to jump in there, pull that tumbleweed over the top of them, and you look like the terrain out there, so they could hide. Well, she had her baby brother, who was, I think, a year and a half old. And the killing and burning was all finished, and a soldier got out his saber because he heard some crying, pulled out the sword and stabbed the bush, killed the baby in her arms, and pulled out the saber, stuck it in the grass and the dirt right there and cleaned it and stuck it back in the saber and started walking away. He turned around and came back one more time. He pulled out the saber and stuck it 2 more times. Caught my great-great-grandma on the left shoulder and across her ear, but didn't kill her. The story goes that my mom in '66 with my brother was going to school down the street, lived in Pinedale, and grandma lived about 4 or 5 blocks from my mom's house, my parents' house. And my grandma told my brother Richard, go home, bring your mom with a camera, and come over to the house. Okay. So he abided what Grandma said. On the way back, my mom was telling my brother, what did you do? What did you break? And interrogated him all the way to my grandma's house. And my brother kept on, I didn't do nothing, Mom, I didn't do nothing. You did something for Grandma to say to bring the camera. Well, when they got to Grandma's house, Grandma was dressed in this camp dress. Her great-great-grandpa had told her, you only tell this to our people when you're at your last days before you die. You still need to have your senses, you still be able to walk and what have you. So what happened there was Grandma told him the story about what had happened. And she got in my brother's face like that and says, how does that make you feel? Of course my brother says, it makes me mad. It makes me angry. And Grandma says, no, do not be angry at those soldiers, because the soldiers, that was their job. But if your grandma would have made one little peek sweep, you wouldn't be here. So that's the story right there. And the 23 that were taken to Oklahoma, these are two of the folks that belong to our band. They were taken to Carlisle, Pennsylvania, a boarding school house right there. And they cut their hair and everything else. That's another story right there. Back to my regalia, I carry a knife and a belt that has Texas badges on them, Ranger badges. This is my knife, and it was made by one of our cousins, Zeke Cavazos, out of Sanger. And those shoes are in, I believe, San Antonio, Texas Museum, and they belong to our people. And this is one of our elders. He's passed away since. The Apache crown dancers came out to Fort Clark and did a ceremony out there. Very, very nice. First weekend in March that they do that. So everybody's invited. First weekend in March, Fort Clark ceremony, Friday, Saturday. You're welcome to come out there. And basically I think that's about it. I have some, this is sage right here, white sage. A little story about the white sage. White sage grows between Carmel and Rosarito, Baja California, on the coast. The only place it grows. There's 130 different kinds of white sages. Tumbleweed is a sage. Did you know tumbleweed is not natural to the Americas? Tumbleweed comes from Russia. And why they call it tumbleweed is because the wind gets it and it tumbles and it spreads out to sea. So it's been coming from Russia over the Bering Strait, down Alaska, Canada, United States, I don't know how far. Maybe it's gone all the way to South America already, I don't know. But that's tumbleweed, that's another one. Sage is a good product to use. It's good to kill bed bugs in your house. Besides chasing off all the bad spirits too. When you do sage your house down, you got to make sure, if you got carpet, make sure you have it on a shell or something to retain the embers from burning your house down. And you open the farthest door that you're going to go out. You start at the far end and you bless your house. You bless your bedroom, the foot of the bedroom where your feet are at and all the bed bugs are at. It kills those for 90 days, 3 months. And you do that, and you need to have, like one fellow told us one time, you need to have the door or window open. Because if you don't, those evil spirits are just bouncing all over the place. You don't give them a place to go. You have to go and open a door so they can go out. Sort of leaving and going to Brackettville.
Yeah.
Oh. And so it's, this is a gathering they did in Mexico, where it's kind of funny that Richard had my brother, and he went to Mexico. Well, they went to Mexico, and they were given an escort down to the place where they were at. And I said, wow, there's more Apaches in Mexico. Yes. You know, there was just the border. We didn't own any borders. And so it was a deal where our people went back and forth. No problem. You know, not until the Europeans got here that they put up borders. You know. So they went over there and they had a great event. They had some homeboys that were there. Richard says, we want you back the next day. The person who was in charge is, but we need to put our stuff away. Worry about it. We'll take care of your stuff. And they formed a circle around his teepee, and they put everything by the teepee and all that. And the next morning, they were all like this around the teepee. And they told him, no problem, brother. Nobody came. Nobody crossed our line. Yes. So it's they hold a lot of respect for Apaches. On the way back, they ended up getting stopped by the cartel, and unfortunately, the first lady that was up in the front, they took her bracelet. She had a nice turquoise bracelet. They took her bracelet, and my brother was 3 vehicles behind the first car, and he had poles for the teepees. And they asked him, what are the poles for? And he told them, they're our poles for our teepees that we put up. We're Lipan Apache Band of Texas. Oh, you're Apaches? Yes. They told that lady the guy up in the front that took that lady's bracelet, give that bracelet back to her and apologize that you took it from her. You're welcome to go through. Okay, Apache tribes. There's, I think, 7 to 11 different Apache tribes. And they go from Texas. If you can visualize a map of United States, of America actually, you would say, from Brownsville all the way up to Oklahoma, all the way through the Four Corners, all the way to the east side of California mountains, which would be like in Barstow, all the way down to El Centro area, and then down through the city of Mazatlan, and across over through top of Guadalajara, back up to Santa Cruz, Monterrey on the coast. That was all Apache land. Of course, the ones that were all to the west were the Mascaleros that lived over there by the Navajos and the Yaquis and what have you there. Yes. So it's a big clan, you know, and then they ended up localizing now basically our people, our Band of Texas, in Texas and then also Mexico too. Actually, what happened was that when the Europeans came over, they wanted to kill people and what have you. So what they wanted was, they wanted proof that you killed a native, be it an adult, a woman, or a kid. So what they did is scalp. They would scalp, and that would show proof, and they would get paid because of the scalps. And what basically ended up, they called the Native Americans heathens, when in reality they were the heathens. They came over, the Spaniards, when the Spaniards came on, did the same thing that Father Sierra did in California with all the missions. They did the missions in Mexico and Texas, of all the big rivers there too. Except they couldn't control the Apaches, but what happened with them was that they'd help them build a mission or what have you, burn the building down. And all the paperwork that was there, oh, that was it. Unless that father was able to get information over to the next church or next mission, and they made copies of it so that continued. But most of those missions in Texas were all burned because they did not want to stay there. Well, we were nomads. The only time you only stayed there was in wintertime, like November, December, and January. Don't realize that this is when I was growing up. I didn't know that I was Lipan Apache, Banner, Texas. There was a lot of instances. I can name you several. I'll name you one. And that was, I was waiting for the bus. We were living in La Puente, LA. And I was standing right next to the mailbox, on that side of the mailbox. And something gave me that feeling, spirit came over me or whatever, and moved to this side of the mailbox. So I moved to this side of the mailbox. It's about this far, arm's length, you know. And a car was making a left turn there on Valley Boulevard in California, into the prayer area there, right there. And another guy was coming too fast and didn't realize that that guy was making a left turn, and he hit him in the rear. Knocked the car up in the air. I saw the bottom of that car and everything else up in the air, on the end, like this. And the car came down and landed right on top of that mailbox. Missed me by maybe a foot, just a little bit. And all these years I've always wondered why that happened. Well, to tell you long story short, it's in our DNA already. And I didn't really realize it. But that was just one of the many incidents that happened throughout my life when I was little and growing up. So it's a deal that you don't realize what you're doing until it happens, and somebody will inform you about it at the end. And then you put all the puzzle comes together.